Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Turin here with another Warhammer Total War online commentary. In this particular battle, I'm going to be playing the Beastmen, and we're going to be facing off against the Empire. So definitely going to be fun. I got Morker, the Shadow Gave, definitely a very, very, very powerful lord. And then we're going to be facing off against Boris Todbringer, who, in my opinion, is probably one of the best options available to the Empire as it pertains to their leadership. As far as my main army composition goes, I have a front line of Gorherds with shields, and as you guys can see, just for reference, I do have several chevrons in my entire front line. So not a very accurate reflection of their stats, but regardless, these guys are pretty good against the Empire. Now, the Empire more often than not will bring, pretty lightly armored infantry. They'll bring, flagellants or spears or halberds, any number of troops like that. Halberds, in my opinion, being the best. As you can see, they have 42 melee defense, 27 armor-piercing anti-large damage. So, not damage, but weapon strength. So against large armored targets, these guys just shred. And they're very, very good against Gorbals. With their high melee defense, they can hold the line against low-tier Beastmen infantry and are just very solid, in my opinion. But these Gorherds also have decent stats. When buffed, obviously, with a few chevrons, they have, in the 30s in terms of melee defense. Their melee attack, I believe, sits around 28. And their weapon strength isn't bad. So just a durable front line. And essentially, they just need to kind of last and allow your Gorbals and Morgher and, of course, your Harpies and other kind of fancy units to do the job. But I like these guys quite a bit, and that comprises my front line here. Just a bunch of Gorherds with shields. In the secondary line, I do have two Ungor Spearman herds. I always keep these guys in the flanks because, again, they're a very inexpensive option at dealing with kind of periphery harass. Not that I have anything to protect per se, but still, if a group of knights or something was able to get around and get a rear charge on the center of my line against these Gorherds, they could do pretty well. So having a group of spears just kind of mirror the movements of the Empire Knights and other units like that is going to be pretty good for me. On top of that, I do have Morker, like I mentioned, with the Staff of Ruinous Corruption. I do have two Gorbals here, and then I also have a Bray Shaman with the Lore of Beasts. So I decided to bring Flock of Doom. I had been bringing the triple Gorbal build, but against Empire, who usually brings a lot of infantry, it's a pretty decent choice to get the Flock of Doom. As far as the rest of my army goes, I do have two Centaurs with great weapons. These guys are just so cost effective. They have very, very low defensive stats with only 20 melee defense and only 24 melee attack right now, which is pretty pitiful, but still, they do have 34 weapon strength and armor piercing and are extremely fast. So in many ways, these guys in conjunction with the Chaos Poison Warhounds can dictate the pace of the battle. And what I really like to do with these guys is kind of, and they are deceivingly strong for some reason or other, but I like to bring them out here, in these far areas and try and bait my opponent into fighting me out here, which usually works out pretty well with the Poison Warhounds and also with the support of Gorbals. On top of that, I do have two Harpies. Now, Harpies against Empire, I'm a huge fan of them. Now, he does have a flying lord that could easily dumpster these Harpies, with no problem. But if he does send his lord after the Harpies, I can simply run them away or just do something else with them. And, essentially that takes his lord out of the battle. And if he doesn't, these Harpies are very good at supporting wherever you need. They can jump in on the Cav battle, and though they don't have armor piercing, let's go ahead and take a look, actually, at exactly what they have. So they have 44 weapon strength and 12 armor piercing damage, which isn't terrible. But still, they're very good at just shredding low armor handgunners, even against flagellants. They'll do very, very well. So I do have two Harpies here. That's pretty much it for my army. So my opponent has some Demogryph Knights with Halberds, a very, very good choice with anti-large bonus. Some Empire Knights, which are okay at kind of cutting through Beastmen infantry. Then the rest of his army comprises of Halberdiers, Spears. Definitely like this. And does he have shields on these guys? He actually does. So I believe the shielded variant does have higher melee defense, so perhaps that's why he brought them. And then a secondary line of Flagellants. So the Flagellants, I actually really like them against the Beastmen. They have pretty high weapon damage, and of course they're not going to break. So against the Beastmen infantry line, these Flagellants can really cut through them pretty quickly. So pretty interesting and solid choice in my opinion. He does have two handgunners, which is a little bit questionable here, at least on this particular setup he has, because he doesn't have a good slope. He might get like a shot or two when they come over here, but other than that, it's going to be really tricky. But two handgunners, he does have a warrior priest, he has some swordsmen and great swords in the back just to kind of plug up his rear. No pun intended. Oh my goodness. And he does have a Boris Todbringer over here, and that's pretty much it for his army composition. So let's get right into the business, guys. Let's have some fun. Let's go balls deep, as you guys like to say. So right now I'm just advancing with my main army composition. The Gorherds are coming up. They're just going to engage across the front line. But as I mentioned to you guys, I really like to kind of create this secondary battle over here. So you can see the Centaurs with great weapons, as well as the Chaos Warhounds with poison, are just trying to bait out these Demogryph Knights, because a lot of times people assume Demogryph Knights will just absolutely shred these relatively low tier Beastmen infantry when supported by a lord, or even with a group of Empire Knights. But the Harpies, I kind of keep, you guys notice, I keep them between the two armies, so I can plug out here if I need, or I can go to his main line. So you can see we engage over here, and we both charge one another, but he actually looks like he took quite a bit more damage. Now they're poisoned. You can see their speed is low, their leadership is tanking into the 40s, and look at the burst they're taking. This is a very bad situation for my opponent. And I do have some Harpies and Gorbal going out there to help, as well as some Spears. So we should be able to win this battle pretty handily over there. In the front line, it's a pretty heated kind of throwdown here. The Gorherds are battling some swordsmen and some spears and other units here. So definitely, a relatively even matchup in the front line. But I would say, if anything, he does have the advantage because the Flagellants are in here supporting this front line. And Halberdiers will trade okay. If we go ahead and take a look, the Gorherd, and the Halberdiers are, trading kind of back and forth. But it looks like the Gore Herds are doing a little bit better, but I believe that's primarily because of the Flock of Doom. But still, I do have Morker, the Shadowgave, who's going to get in here and definitely do some work. Does he cause terror? I don't think he does. He should cause fear at the very least, but I guess not. But still, he's going to get in here, and he does pretty well against slightly armored units, and he does have poison as well, which is quite nice. My opponent doing a very good job plugging up his flank over here with these swordsmen, so good stuff there. So my Harpies landed, and they were able to do huge burst damage, actually, to these handgunners. But still, the Warrior Priest in here is doing a very, very good job kind of fending these guys off. And man, Warrior Priests are some of the coolest looking units in the game, but he does use the Shield of Faith to provide that damage resistance and also pull some of these auxiliary greatswords. But basically, I just wanted to use those Harpies. They're only 600 resources to shut down that missile line while I approached. And now that I'm entrenched with his line here, he's not going to be able to get many great shots, in my opinion. So over here, the battle is still continuing to unfold. You can see the Gorbel over here is doing pretty good. Well, right as I say that, he gets knocked over. But the other Gorbel does a little bit of a somersault and knocks those Empire Knights pretty hard. And right now, they're going to get in here and just absolutely dumpster these guys. You can see 3 or 4 models going down there very quickly. And the Chaos Poison Warhounds have also dropped their speed to 51, which is so incredibly slow. And that means that the Gorbels are going to be able to catch them. And also these Spears here are going to be able to, be in pretty hot pursuit. Because right now, they actually have 40 move speed. So the Empire Knights kind of getting dragged through the mud a little bit. And a lot of my units are able to catch them. So the Demogryph Knights are also in very bad shape. You can see they're down to 13 models, and they have taken huge HP damage. So if these Demogryph Knights and Centaurs are able to kind of beat on them for a minute, it's going to be really bad, and they'll probably rout here momentarily. So the Empire Knights do retreat. It looks like my opponent did kind of concede this battle over here. The Harpies and other units were able to take out the Demis, which is a very, very good situation. And also these Empire Knights have been brought low. No, not low, but they've been brought to about half-life. So you can see the Flock of Doom continuing to do some good work, and now that the Flagellants are getting in here, my Gore Herds are starting to take a bit of damage, but they're actually being very, very durable. I'm used to my line kind of collapsing as the Beastmen, but again, things are going to get really ugly now that the Chaos Spawn timer has finally come up. So I'm able to summon some Chaos Spawn. And also I did get a Chaos Essence. I believe the Spirit Essence of Chaos, I was able to get that on a group of Halberdiers here, just absolutely chunk them. So that kind of released the floodgates, and a lot of my troops are able to run through now. And also you can see these Chaos Spawn here are just going to absolutely tear the last of these Flagellants to pieces. But, if anyone's going to fight, Chaos Spawn, it might as well be Flagellants, because they're definitely not going to be intimidated by those things. They don't really care about being ruthlessly slaughtered by these monstrous Chaos entities. So they're going to get in here. It's definitely a very, very interesting battle for these guys over here, but for the most part, it's going pretty well for the Beastie Boys. So the Chaos Spawn are getting in here. They're starting to penetrate the back line, and you can see the Harpies, very, very good utility from them, using them to kind of clean up and chase down routing units. And of course, now that the Cav battle has been won, that's just one of my favorite tactics, to just kind of force people out here with Beastmen, because so many people underestimate the Centaurs. In my opinion, what probably would have done quite a bit better for him, aside from having a better handgunner position, was to keep his Cav high and tight, keep them with his army, use some Spears to kind of block me off, and even if you use your Demis to just, mirror my Gorbels, you're going to be in pretty good shape. And he probably could have forced these Centaurs into, having to deal with Spears or just microing in that way, and that would have been a lot better for my opponent, I think. But still, the Flock of Doom continue to go off. Boris is in here, but, he's eager right now, but he's about to start suffering some serious army losses. You can see their numbers are down to 300 with my 500, give or take, but in terms of just percentage of units lost, he's lost quite a bit. Now that the double Gorbels are on him, it's going to be a very, very bad day. So we can go ahead and fast forward here. You can see it's a mass rout due to army losses at that point. So very well played to my opponent. It was a lot of fun. Always a cool time facing Boris Todbringer with the Beastmen. And good results from the front liners. I mean, 117 kills and 94 is incredibly impressive. But again, you have to remember they have a bunch of Flagellants, which go down pretty quick. So it's not, a truly accurate reflection of their efficacy, but still, they did pretty well. Over here, this kind of Goon Squad in conjunction with the Harpies were able to kind of outdo those Demis, and though they got a lot of kills, these Demogryph Knights did not do a lot. They were, most of their kills were on Hounds, which is definitely not good. Also, the Harpies were able to, pressure those handgunners to allow me to get in, but at the end of the day, if my opponent didn't have the handgunners, maybe had mixed in something else, maybe even some crossbows that could have been able to get a bit of a better arc, I think it could have been a very different game. But again, very well played to my opponent, Death of Memory. I look forward to seeing you again on Ladder, and I hope you guys enjoyed that online commentary. Have an excellent night, and take care.